Yeah, that's right. I see the chat. I see y'all rocking. I see y'all coming. Hit that like button as you enter the building. You know what I'm saying? Hit that like button. Show your love. Show your support. You know what I'm saying? This that dope soul. This that new thing. Nobody don't know about it.
Hello, Knick family. Welcome to the Knicks Recap and Reaction Show. I'm your host, Stephanie, a.k.a. Queen, joined by my guy, Geoff Klafter from the Happily Ever Klafter Daily Sports Blog. We are here to break down the Knicks' 110-97 loss to the Lakers. You can argue that it wasn't even close. It wasn't that close, but the Knicks did make a gallant effort in the fourth quarter. Just briefly, I thought the defense was good, held the Lakers to 110 points, but the offense was putrid. We did not shoot the ball well, particularly from three. There's only so many more shots you can take than the other team to make up for poor efficiency, and the Knicks only shot one more shot. And there's only so much defense you can fall back on to make up for poor efficiency. The Knicks scored only 97 points, didn't get a lot of scoring from the wings. We'll talk about that. The Lakers are not a consistently good team, like 24 in defensive rating for the season, but over the last 15 games, they are a 10th ranked defense, and it sure looked that way last night. Brunson's slump continues, though he shot decent from three. I think he was 37 point something percent. This was one of those games, and I'm interested to see what Geoff has to say when we get to it, where I would not have mind a 30 points on 30 shot effort from Jalen Brunson. No one else got it going. And, sometimes your best player has to try to take over the game, even though he did not shoot well. He wasn't efficient last night. Again, I don't know if I would have minded a 30-point, 30-shot game from him. Overall, though, I think this was a one-off. The Knicks are still a very good team. It was they were just bad versus the Lakers. Defense is holding. It seems to be pretty good consistently, and the offense just sputters at times. Geoff, just your overall thoughts on the game last night, and then we'll get into it a bit more.
This is why you keep your safety on your firearm so you don't shoot yourself in the foot, right? I thought most of our foibles, most of our folly was a result of self-inflicted wounds. 18 turnovers, I think, in the game.
Correct.
Both Brunson and Shamet with season highs in that category. Brunson had 7 turnovers, and I think Shamet had 3. So those two were the biggest culprits by themselves. We'll talk about their individual performances more in a bit, I'm sure, but just a low energy effort in general. I thought, Brunson, it was very telling. A couple of quotes from one from each team. Brunson said, of all the things that coach asked us to do, we didn't do any of them well. So I thought that was telling. And then Austin Reeves said, we just wanted the game more than they did.
Wow.
And I think that sums it up pretty well. And it's true. I mean, they wanted it more than we did. We didn't get to the 50-50 balls like we normally do. We were sloppy with the ball, which is not like, I think it was a season high in turnovers or pretty close to it. And when you turn the ball over and you limit your possessions that much, that's going to affect things. And then when you compile that with terrible shooting performance, especially from the perimeter, it's just a recipe for disaster. And so I just think overall it was just a low energy effort. And I don't know if that was because of daylight savings time or they spent too much time enjoying the sun on the beach, in California. I don't know what the reason for it was. I tend to agree with you, though. I don't think it's indicative. I didn't think we should be, jumping on the championship bandwagon after the Nuggets game. I don't think we should be abandoning ship after this one either. I think it's just,
right,
part of the rigors of an 82 game season. I think you're going to have a few games like this, and it was tough to watch on when they play like that. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Where do you want to go first in terms of really getting into last night's game?
I think Brunson. I just didn't like his process. You know, uh, 7 turnovers is just an outrageous amount for him, and it seemed like down the stretch when it's winning time or whatever you want to call it, I think he gave the ball away 3 times in a row or something like that. So, and the shooting slump continues. And look, he's human. All these guys go through slumps at times. It's true, but this team is not going to be the best version of itself in the playoffs if Jalen doesn't, return to his form in terms of his efficiency. Like, I think that's a big part of what we do as a ball club. I think the margins are so slim. I don't think that we can really survive a JB who's shooting this poorly, and especially if he's combining that with being loose with the ball. I think the loose with the ball part was an outlier because he was outstanding in terms of assist to turnover ratio in the games prior to this. But again, I feel like it's been a month now that since he's really had a really good game shooting the ball, and it shouldn't be fatigue because he's actually playing fewer minutes than he was last year, and I don't really remember him having a stretch like this last year. Although I don't have a great memory sometimes, so it may just be that I'm not remembering that he did. But and I have confidence because the guy is a playoff riser that he'll be back. But this isn't the version of JB that we signed up for, that we're used to, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with that. 24 points on shooting splits of 421, 375, 714. He was 8 of 18 overall, 3 of 8 from 3, 5 of 7 from the field. I'm not sure what to attribute it to. Like you said, players go through slumps, and it just may be one of those. You asked the question last night, is his focus on the defensive end impacting him offensively? I mean, I thought he played solid defense last season and was still efficient. I don't know if he's putting in extra work on the defensive end this year. If that's impacting him, I do think his role is different. I think it again. He's playing a bit different since the All-Star break. I think he's much more pass first. Um, does is he one of those rhythm guys? Is he one of those guys who has to be on the ball to be at his best? And when you're asking him to play, even I think he's playing different than he played prior to the All-Star break. Is that something that's impacting him? I'm not sure. But to your point, the Knicks are going nowhere fast if this shooting slump doesn't end, and if he doesn't find his balance between being a distributor and being a scorer. In addition to his efficiency, there are times when I feel like he has the mismatch and he gives it up. Now, is that because he knows he's not shooting well? So, for instance, last night in either the first quarter or the first half, Aiton was switched off on him. And instead of him going to work, he passed it to Shamit in the corner. I mean, Shamit is a good 3-point shooter, a really good 3-point shooter, and he's been playing well for us of late. But you have a mismatch on Aiton, opportunity to get into the lane, maybe get to the line. Maybe that'll help you get going. Maybe pick up a foul on Aiton. Not that he's not that he's playing so well that you want him to get out of the game. But I just feel like the balance between the passing and the shooting, though improved, and I've said this probably for the last, I don't know, few games, if not few weeks, I feel like the balance, in my opinion, is a tick lower. Whereas before it was like too much shooting. Now I feel like, I don't want to say too much passing, but I do want to say the balance is still not there between the distribution and finding his finding his shot, finding his rhythm, because some players are rhythm players. You know, like it's just hard for them to pass, and oh, now I can do it. We'll see. We'll
I
see.
agree with you. It's like when you're messing with your stereo and you get the treble right where it's supposed to be, but then the bass isn't quite where
Right.
you need it to be, right?
Right.
You know, and then it's just you're just fiddling with that knob, and you hope you don't rip it off the. It's not knobs anymore. Probably, I'm probably showing my age here, but I remember there was a time when it was the knob that you had to do, and it was on. I think it's all buttons now, but I remember it being the knob on the stereo system of the car, and so I agree with you on that. And it seems like the Pacers game was the catalyst for that, like that fourth quarter when he just kind of was in ISO Jalen mode supremely. Like he didn't look to pass the ball, and he didn't even take bad shots. He just didn't make them,
Right.
And so I think that was, I think since then he's kind of dialed it back, and I kind of wonder with you, maybe he did dial it back too far. I don't know. East Blue Drew said he wasn't looking for anybody last night. I'm not sure if that's exactly true. I mean, I think a part of his 7 turnovers was that he was passing the ball, and he, he did have 7 assists also. So he throws more passes than anybody on the Knicks actually, and he did again yesterday. So I'm not sure that's exactly true, but maybe I'm just not seeing the game the same way.
Listen, I don't think that was the case. And if it was, I think he should have did it a bit more, because he got absolutely no help from the other players around him. And we'll get into them. OG Anunoby, 13 points, Hart, 8 points, Mikal Bridges, 0 points. So no, I'm just not of the mindset. And I've been watching Brunson closely because, to your point, since the Indiana game, I've noticed the difference in his play and his approach to his floor game. I've noticed the difference. I've been really watching him. And like I said last night, there were times when I thought he should have took the shot. And he was passing it out. And last night was a game I would not have minded a 30-point, 30 shot game from Jalen Brunson, because I just didn't think anyone was shooting the ball well, even him. But I just trust his ability to at least get his shot off consistently. I do want to point out, though, in the first quarter, just to give Jalen Brunson some defensive props, he was out on an island against someone. I'm not quite sure who it was, and he moved those puppies, as Kendrick Perkins would say. And it wasn't just a half a second where he was out on the island. He was out on that island for a few seconds, and he moved those feet. And whoever he was guarding, he kept them in front. They shot over the top and missed the shot. And he put out a lot of effort on that defensive possession. So kudos for him. The Knicks defense has been consistently better, and part of that has been the buy-in from both Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns on that side, on that side of the ball. Hopefully the slump, his efficiency returns, but also the balance returns in terms of passing, shooting. Where do you want to go next?
I think the donut, Mikal Bridges. How you score 0 points, bro? And I'm a big defender of Bridges. I think he does a lot that goes unnoticed. I mean, as far as an energy and effort guy, I think his personality sometimes make him seem like he's not necessarily locked in. But then if you look at like the amount of running that he does is probably more than anybody else in the league. But he can't have 0 points in a regular rotation. But like if you get 0 points because the coach just put you in to keep the streak alive and then took you out like he did, at the last game last year, that's fine. But no, that can't happen, bro. I mean, you gotta be more actively involved in that. Just a disappointing effort from him and I don't have an explanation. I was not happy with McCall's play yesterday.
Yeah, last night I think he was 0 points, 0 for 6 from the field overall, 0 for 4 from the was it 0 for 4 or 1 for 4? One of them from the 3-point line. But
0 for
to
4.
me,
He had 0 points. He had to
0
be.
for 4. Oh yeah, 0 for 4. Correct. Correct. Um, but I would lump OG and Hart in there as well. I just thought we didn't get anything from our wings last night. OG Anunoby with 13 points. I'm sorry, my notes just seem not to be as organized as I thought they were. Um, OG 13 points. Um, I forget his exact stats, but this is OG Anunoby. Like what we saw from Denver, he can do that, and I like that about him. That we have multiple players on his team, including OG Anunoby, who can step up offensively and give you a monster game. But I just don't think he's a consistent two-way player. He's just not somebody that you can count on to deliver that game in and, in game out. I know Nick Nation disagrees. He feels like, when he's injured, it takes him some time to just get back into that flow and he can be this player on a consistent basis. I just don't think so. I just think if teams make a concerted effort to limit him, they are able they're able to do that. He did have 8 rebounds last night, but again, the Lakers defense was turned up, and we just didn't have a response on the offensive end. Same thing for Hart. Only took a few shots last night. He also had, I think, 8 points. Just what did you see from all of our wings last night? Do you think it was they weren't getting the ball enough? Do you think they weren't aggressive enough? Do you think the Lakers did their best to limit them? The Lakers did play a lot of zone also. What did you see from the wings?
Well, I agree with you that they didn't really have it. I said we needed to bottle up some of that mountain air for OG, so that when he has a game like yesterday, you could just like crack it open and give him like a
Mhm.
a shot of it in his lungs there, because that mountain air in Denver seems to do his shot and his body good. He was, you knew that was going to come crashing down, and I thought that Reddick did a really good job. I thought that they threw a lot of
Absolutely.
different looks at us defensively, and they didn't just do the same thing all the time. And the Knicks got confused by it, frankly. Like they didn't do a good job of adjusting and noticing what the game was doing and how to attack, and that hurt them. And I think that it when we were just failing all across the board, though. Everybody played bad. I don't even think the bench was particularly good, but it's really the funny thing to me about the wings.
Mhm.
My gut instinct says that that we might be better served with Hart not in the starting lineup, but then I saw a stat yesterday. Did you know the Knicks are winning 70% of their games when Josh Hart starts?
Wow.
So it's really funny to me, because I feel like, especially even lately, even in the Denver game, we get off to these slow starts where
Last
it's
night, 4-4-11 last night
yeah,
to start the game.
yeah, and I don't know if it's just it takes the starters a quarter to kind of figure things out and get in their rhythm, but it just seems like when we go to that bench unit with Shamit and Diawara and Robinson, they give us a shot in the arm, they get us back in the game, and then last night we dug ourselves a hole and we couldn't climb out of it. Right? It just it kind of snowballed, and then we were down 21 at the start of the fourth quarter. So but it's a dichotomy. So how is it that when Hart starts, we're winning 70% of our games, and yet it seems like those lineups plus minus data wise are either neutral or negative? It's very counterintuitive, and I don't necessarily have an explanation for it.
And I think that and this is something we talked about. Two coaches are doing this, right? And so, is this politics where Josh Hart is a friend of Jalen Brunson and he needs to be in the starting lineup? Or are these coaches seeing something other than the lineup data that makes them want to stick with Josh Hart in that lineup? I will say you are getting the secondary playmaking, you are getting the secondary, the secondary ball handling, but the lineup data still shows. I'm not sure what it shows with Shamit though, but I know it did show with Miles McBride that the plus minus was better. So there is something about this that we are just not privy to. And we say this all the time on this channel. As much as we get on the coaches, they have more data. There are more factors that they are aware of that go into the decisions that they make than we are privy to watching from our couch. I will say, to your point, the Knicks started the game 4 points to the Lakers 11. They were also 1 of 12 from 3 to start the game, but they did close that quarter on a 6-8 run, held the Lakers to just 1 field goal in the last few minutes of that first quarter. They were still down 5, still down 5 at the half though. So they did climb their way back, back into the game. I don't think it's hard to say for this particular team if it's just Hart that's the problem in the starting lineup, because the Knicks are not playing 5 out anyway. I think 5 out is dead for this team. In order for us to have the defense that we're going to have, you could play 5 out lineups at times, but I just don't think that's going to be the identity of this team. 4-1, sometimes 3-2. Sometimes we have the all brick unit in there with Brunson. So the I think the Hart thing may be a little overplayed. I think all of these lineups have 1, 2, and sometimes 3 players in the lineup that are not spacers. And Mike Brown is seeing something that we're not seeing. Maybe he's leaning into defense a little more. The Knicks are going to have to figure it out, because most of those lineups will have at least one player who's not a shooter. That's been the shift on this team, and maybe that's the price you pay for a better defense. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think yeah, we are the team that never has 2 things that match, right? Our best defensive players are typically limited offensively, and our best offensive players tend to be limited defensively. So, yeah, I absolutely think that that's true. We didn't make shots last night either. The people are saying that the ball wasn't flowing. Well, I think it kind of was. Like, the shot distribution shows that it kind of was. And instead of shooting 8,000% like we did against the Nuggets, we shot 8%. And when you take a ton of threes like we do, and you don't make them, leads to long rebounds. It makes defense more difficult. And I think we saw a lot of that last night too. So I think that, certainly you wouldn't say that it's that Brunson had an egregious amount of shot attempts last night. And in fact, probably the differential between Towns and Brunson in terms of field goal attempts was one of its smallest that we've had this year. And as far as shot distribution goes, I kind of like, this could be the bell curve. You know what I mean? This could be, I kind of like who got how many shots and when. So obviously we need to make more of them, but I just think that from that standpoint, like, if you want to just say that the ball stopped and it was, it was the Brunson show, I don't think I agree with that necessarily. I think that the ball moved in the same way, but when the ball movement leads to bricks, it doesn't, it doesn't look like it has flow. But that's sometimes happens. And again, my answer for this game is I attribute it to low energy. I think it's going to be a challenge tonight because we play in LA again, and we've got to summon the courage and muster up a much better performance tonight. We can't afford to lose both games in LA. I mean, we're already, Boston beat Cleveland, so we fell another game behind them in the standings. So it's really looking like a 3 or a 4 seed for us at this point, which is, not ideal.
I will add to that, Jeff, about the ball flowing. The other team has something to do with that. To me, this wasn't a game where the ball wasn't flowing because Brunson was in burner mode, which I think last night, when you're not getting that type of production from other players, sometimes you, as a best player, you do need to go into burner mode, even if you're inefficient. That was not the case last night. So this wasn't about Brunson dominating the game and dominating the shots. This was about the Lakers' defense limiting what was available for the Knicks. They played a zone. The Knicks did not, in other words, offensive flow can be disrupted by one player taking over the game, not passing the ball, but it can also be disrupted by the opposing team's defense and what they do. And I think last night, our offensive flow was disrupted by the Lakers defense. The flow, we still got good shots that we didn't knock down, but it didn't look as smooth as it usually do. You pass, somebody cut, you hit them on a cut for a layup. They played zone, right? So sometimes you have to win ugly, right? Last night with their defense, it was not going to be a free-flowing, nice-looking Denver Nuggets type game because the Denver Nuggets doesn't play defense like the Lakers play. The Denver Nuggets, you can get anything you want on them. They don't play defense like that. The Lakers, again, 21 in defensive rating on the season, but over the last 15 games, 10th ranked defense in the NBA. And that's what it looked like, at least to me, last night for both teams. But they only scored 110 points, but Luka knocked down some really good shots, despite the Knicks' overall good defense.
Well,
And
that one OG was right in his chest, and he had to fall away from like 8,000 feet, and
that's my
he's falling
point.
out of bounds, and you're like,
That
okay, how do you defend that? So that's perfectly said by you.
and that's my point. They played good defense, just like we did, but we had nobody making shots like that. That's the difference in the game. It's not going to always look the same, particularly if you're playing a good defensive team. But you shoot 23.5% from 3, you're losing. You shoot 42.7% overall, you're losing, right? So when we're analyzing this game and how free flowing the game looks or not, consider the other team as well and the defense that they're playing. They know how the Knicks like to play. As a matter of fact, everybody in the NBA knows how everybody else wants to play. Do you have the personnel that can limit it? And last night, the Lakers, whether this was a one-off or not, they were able to limit what the Knicks like to do. All right. Brown coached a horrible game. Listen, one of the things that I would love, and if we didn't, when we win, Brown was great. He outcoached the other team. Then when we lose, Brown was horrible. He didn't outcoach the other. He got outcoached by the other coach. Like, it is a bit more nuanced than that, right? Execution matters as well. And I also think you have to know a lot about schemes to be able to judge a coach, right? You have to know a lot about it to be able to say, you know what? In this particular case, most coaches would have did this. A lot of us, and particularly I'm talking to myself, I don't know a lot about offensive and defensive schemes on an NBA level to be able to judge Mike Brown and say he should have did this and he should have did that. I will say I didn't understand it. I'm curious. I wonder what went into that decision. I think we have to just acknowledge our limited information as well. It doesn't stop us from being critical, but I do think we need to acknowledge the limitations we have when we're judging, when we're
I will
judging a
say this
coach.
in Mike Brown's defense. He was visibly and noticeably frustrated by the way the team was playing. So it seemed like, sometimes the game plan was bad and you get exploited, and at other times it's the execution of the game plan is bad, and the level of energy is bad. And I thought against the Lakers, it was more about effort and attitude and energy than it was. I don't think it mattered what scheme we used yesterday against the Lakers with the way that with the how-to that we were playing with. I just thought that our energy was off. And when you play low energy against, look, the Lakers they're not vintage, but they're still a very good team. They're almost at 40 wins themselves, and so you can't just go in there and give a half-hearted effort and expect to go in and beat them like you did the Nuggets the night before on an outstanding effort. So, I just, I'm not going to pin this one on the coach. Does Mike Brown have his flaws? Yes, but guess what? No matter what coach we bring in here, it doesn't matter who you bring in here, even if it's Eric Spoelstra or Steve Kerr or whomever you think is the best coach around, you would have issues with him. I guarantee, from a game-to-game basis. And if you don't believe me, go to Miami Heat spaces sometime when they're in a down spell, and you'll hear them saying the exact same things about him that we were saying about Tom Thibodeau last year. So, like, the coach is low-hanging fruit. It's easy to pick on. There are times, yes, when you can say the coach cost us this game or that game. I think that's true. Sometimes their decisions, but also sometimes it's just you make a decision and it doesn't work out. Like, you can make this decision that the data says is right, and you fail. And is that so? If the coach was to make a decision that was less of a percentage play and it worked out, that's better coaching? I'm not saying it very eloquently right now, but I think that that's the case sometimes. And so, Mike Brown has his flaws. Is he? I don't think he's a top tier coach. I'll be honest. I think that he's probably a second tier coach, but I kind of think Thibodeau was too. So I think they're kind of in the same category of coaches, and overall, Brown has done a good job with this team. I think that we're on pace to win 51, 52 games relatively easily. I won't want to say easily, but assuming that we don't completely collapse down the stretch here, we're on pace to have a lot of wins, and he'll be judged by what we do in the postseason for sure. But if I'm not going to sit here and say that this was Mike Brown's fault last night, particularly.
The Knicks didn't execute, and they didn't shoot well. And the Lakers had something to do with it, and the ball was not moving the same. The turnovers tell the truth, but why wasn't the ball moving? The Lakers had something to do with that.
Actually, the more the ball moves, the more turnovers that you potentially have. Right? I'm just saying, ISO ball leads to fewer turnovers. Remember when Randall and Brunson were both here pounding the air out of the ball, we were the lowest turnover team in the league, because the fewer passes that you make in general, the fewer turnovers you're going to have. So, sometimes ball movement is going to lead to turnovers. I don't, unless they're just, and maybe I didn't look at it close enough. Maybe most of our turnovers were the dribble it off the foot variety. I don't know. And if that's the case, okay, then I'll concede the point. But a lot of times when the more passes that you make, it's kind of like, in football, what Darrell Royal said, only 3 things can happen when you pass the ball, and 2 of them are bad. Right? And so, the more you've passed the ball, the more you put it at risk. That's just right. The facts. That's just how it is.
But the Knicks have been really good at mitigating that, even with the more passing this year. And last night they were not.
100%.
Particularly Jalen Brunson with 7 turnovers. I do want to talk about Mitchell Robinson. I didn't think Mitchell Robinson was particularly good as far as defensive rebounding is. And you know what? It's not his forte. I think that's something that's been lost this season. I don't think we talk about it um, much. But last night there was one possession where they got like 2-3 offensive rebounds over Mitchell Robinson. So last night wasn't his best effort, in my opinion, as well. He only played, how many minutes did Mitchell Robinson play? 17 minutes. But I mean, he doesn't get a lot of minutes. He doesn't get a lot of minutes. You know, anyway, and still is super impactful. 4 rebounds last night, 2 offensive, 2 defensive. I thought they did a really good job limiting him. We won the rebounding battle overall, +5, but offensive rebounds, our bread and butter, we were -2. And they actually beat us last night in, we can actually, yeah, they actually beat us last night in um in second chance points. I think it was +7, +6 in second chance points last night. And they hurt us. The times in which they got them really hurt us as we were trying to um, get back, get back into the game. You could see the shooting splits between the different teams. Assists, they didn't have a lot of assists either. 23 assists on 83, 84 field goal percentage.
And the other thing that I forgot to mention, and I'm glad you brought to have this graphic up because it made me think of it, even if it's not specifically on here. The Knicks fouled a lot. The Lakers to the line 30 times and they made 25 of them. And that, those free points help also, when you get, when you're able to get to the line that frequently and you knock them down, that helps your offense as well. And so I think that was another key. And I think that goes back to what I was saying before about a low energy performance. When your energy is low, you're not moving your feet the way that you need to on a consistent enough basis. And that, that means you're reaching more and you're tending to, slap at the ball instead of being in the proper defensive position. And I think that we saw a lot of that yesterday as well.
Yeah, for sure. Shout out to Jerrell. Appreciate you. We out rebounded and had more assists than the Lakers. We also shot 23% from 3. That's why we lost the game. It's not that complicated with this one. You're absolutely right, Jerrell. We can, dig here. You shoot 43% overall, 24% from 3. Chances are you are going to lose the game. Sherwin wants to say the Knicks are not good at beating bigger teams. That's why we lost. David Smiths want to say our best success is when Knicks pass. Overwhelming statistical support for it. Now it's pass, moving the goalposts. Before it was 30 assists. Now it's passing. Which one is it, David? Right? Is it passing?
If you're not making shots, where are the assists, right? You
right.
can't.
Right. Is it passing or is it assists?
And aren't we 2-1 against the San Antonio Spurs, who are one of the longest teams in the league, biggest teams in the league? So Sherwin,
with stout perimeter defenders as well.
So you did struggle with the Detroit Pistons specifically, absolutely, but I'm sorry, Sherwin, and maybe I don't have good basketball eyes, but I do not see it the same way. I think can length bother us at times? Yes, but I've seen the Knicks play extraordinarily well against length. I saw us beat the Cleveland Cavaliers twice, and they have one of the longest front lines you're going to see. And so, and again, we're 2-1 against San Antonio. Probably should be 3-0. And as Queen rightly pointed out, they've got elite perimeter defenders all over the place, and they're all big and long and rangy. So,
Sherman moves the goalpost too. He moves the goalpost too. First is we too small. It's the bigger teams. Now it's the perimeter. Now it's the perimeter people. And David Smith moves it as well. When we why you not the Knicks? You can pass and lose. You can pass the ball and lose. You know, and if you're not passing the ball well, maybe it's because the defense is a bit disruptive. I did not see, Geoff, correct me if I'm wrong, I did not see Brunson going rogue last night, dominating the ball, not passing, and that's why we lost. I saw the Knicks attempting to pass the ball, the Lakers defense being on point, and the Knicks missing shots. That's what I saw last night.
I agree with you.
I know you've been saying it for 2 years, but I'm just saying you've been wrong for 2 years, in my opinion.
I mean,
I will tell you this, David Smith. I'm not as big a Brunson stan as you are Cat stan. You are more a Cat fan than it seems like a Knick fan. I will come in and I will tell you Brunson's floor game needs to improve. Brunson cannot stay in this slump if the Knicks are going to make it to the finals, right? But I'm not all up in his ass the way you all up in Cat's ass, where every 99% of your comments are either pro Cat, how much his plus minus in the Eastern Conference Finals, last night he did this, last night he did that. It's like y'all lovers.
I mean,
It's
we literally spent the first 5-10 minutes of the show saying that what Brunson is doing is unsustainable here. Like, let's not.
Thank you.
Like, I don't know if you got in late, David, but that was really the headline of what we were talking about. That was what we led with, was that Brunson didn't play well. His process was bad. He didn't shoot the ball well. He hasn't been shooting the ball well. We need him to shoot the ball better. That's literally was our lead analysis of this game. So to say that we're sitting here and we never say anything bad about Brunson or Bridges is just wrong. I mean, in fact, I think regardless of who's playing poorly, I think we're going to call it out. If Hart has a bad game, what do we say? Hart had a bad game. Mitchell Robinson wasn't great last night. Queen mentioned it. Like, we're not the pom-pom squad, and whoever's playing bad, we're going to call him out on it. And guess what? Yesterday, the entire team played poorly. And so, like, give us a break here. I mean, we are recognizing the issues. We did say that this team is not going to get to its ceiling with Brunson playing the way he is. So I think that, like, you act like nobody is saying these things. And so, we are acknowledging it.
Yeah, he came in late. He wants us to be all over Brunson like he all over Cat. And I think we could see it both ways. He can only see it one way when it comes to Karl Anthony Towns. All right, Anna Girl 1, make or miss league. We didn't miss shots because of the Lakers defense. I think that Lakers defense had something to do with it. Were there shots that the Knicks had that, they could have made? Absolutely. But to say the Lakers defense had nothing to do with the Knicks shooting, I'm not buying it. But did the Knicks have enough open looks that if they would have knocked it down, there could have been a different outcome? Yeah, absolutely. Your thoughts, Geoff? Did you think that the Lakers defense didn't have much to do with the Knicks shooting?
I mean, I thought the Lakers did a great job. Like I said before, I thought they mixed up the looks. And they were very successful. That sometimes they played zone, and we kind of struggled with that. And then kind of when we got used to, okay, that's what they're doing, that's when we're going to attack, then they switched it up to something else. I thought JJ Redick did a really good job of playing multiple. And I don't know if they do that all the time or if they just did it yesterday, but they did a good job. But I also thought we missed a fair share of open looks that we normally do make as well. Like I said, I just think it was a low energy performance. And, I'm not going to trip about it, but I just, that's just kind of my opinion on it. I thought we missed a lot of open shots. I thought we moved the ball. but again, no assists when you don't make shots. So, as Jerrell said, sometimes it boils down to that. And I think that last night was kind of a case of that. But again, I don't think it was shot making or anything else as much as it was low energy effort on the part of the Knicks and not doing the things that have been successful for us, not playing the same way that got us the 40-point win against Denver.
Yeah, and then also the quality of the shots too, against a team that's playing good defense. You know, you may get some open looks, but I don't know if the Knicks got wide open looks, right? There's times when the Knicks will get into the key, pass it out to the wing, and like you got time to like twirl a ball in your hand, get it set like you're taking a free throw. I don't think that was the case last night. But listen, no excuses. No excuses. The Knicks got enough looks. And it wasn't enough. Shout out to Judas Revenge. Knicks just didn't make shots. Lakers defense was the problem. Lakers defense was or wasn't the problem. Lakers, I think he says was, but did he or she mean wasn't? Lakers didn't play that well. Walter White, we looked like we had a good game Saturday night in LA with a lost hour, and we rarely play well in matinee games. Fair? Wasn't. Knicks just didn't make shots. So he or she felt that the defense wasn't the problem. Okay. Okay. All right. I mean, we can have differences of opinions there, and it could be both. And it could be both. Mike T424, Mike Brown is starting to coach like Tibbs. In what way? I mean, we lost the game last night. Come on, folks. Like in what way is he beginning to coach like Thibodeau? Let me know. I'm actually interested in that. So Mike T424, if you could put that in the chat, I'll appreciate that. Knicks Nation 1127. Josh is not good enough to have bad games because a great game from Josh is not winning anything. I have seen Mikal win us games. Josh had triple doubles and we lost. I mean, let's be fair. And Josh has also had triple doubles that spurred us to winning or was a big part of us winning. Let's be fair. Like this narrative that a great game from Josh Hart doesn't mean anything and a poor game from Mikal Bridges means everything. Let's stop. I understand that we have our favorite players, but you still have to be able to look at these players somewhat fairly across the course of a season and be able to acknowledge when a player you don't particularly like has an impact on the game and when a player you like serves up a dud. And last night, Mikal Bridges served up a dud. I'm not going to argue. I didn't think Josh had a particularly good game, but you're not going to make me believe that when he does have a good game, that it doesn't contribute to winning. You're just not going to make me believe that. Judas Revenge, Cat needs more shot. Nobody shot be taking more shots than Cat except JB. I agree with that. I thought Cat was, I mean, listen, for those that's into plus minus, Cat was a -9 last night, but I thought Cat was good last night. Obviously the Knicks didn't win. 25 points, 16 rebounds, 15 of them on the defensive end. Nobody else on the Knicks had more than 6 defensive rebounds last night. 2 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, was efficient, shot 47% overall from the field, only 1 of 5 from 3. That means he was 8 of 13 from the 2-point in with his 2-point shots, and maybe he should have gotten more shots last night. And I think defensively he was fine. I mean, there was times when his person would score because he would come over to rotate, either double team or stop a drive, and then his Ayton got behind him one time, for a dunk. So I thought Cat's defense was still good. I thought he was good offensively. He took 1 shot from the mid range. I'm liking that too with Cat. His shot diet is mixed up a little bit. I just like the way Cat is playing, and this is one time I agree with David Smith that maybe we could have figured out a way to get him more shots last night. But again, this is just not the way our offense runs. I don't think it's a system run offense. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, particularly those who know more about schemes, and you get what you get within it. I don't think the Knicks come out of it to run a series of plays for a particular person. Maybe they should. I know they will run a set here and there to feature a person, a player. I don't know. Um, at a what is it now? Eddie FICO getting that credit rating up. Huh? You must be doing well in that respect. No, I'm kidding. Why did Coach play Brunson 42 minutes? Because he wanted to win the game. And I think that you always think you have a chance with your best player in the game. All right. Geoff, anything we didn't discuss about last night's game?
One thing that I do find interesting is the actual number of shots taken between Towns and Brunson was probably as small as it's been all year. Brunson had 19 field goal attempts and Towns had 17. So Towns has been down around 11, 12, 13 field goal attempts for a lot of this month. And so he actually did get more shots yesterday than he has been getting. So I think that, you know, if you want to say he should have had 20, 25 shots, okay. I don't think that's happening with this offense, as you said. Like, if your expectation is that Towns is going to be the feature and he's going to get 20 to 25 shots, you're going to be sorely disappointed, because that's not how the Knicks are going to play basketball. It's just not. And I say that as someone who that's kind of my preference, but I, that's not what we're doing. That's not how we're going to roll. And that's fine. And I think that part of it is that Coach Brown wants him to focus on defense more. And I think we've seen the benefit of that. Yes, his scoring numbers are down, but I think you can argue he's had the best defensive season of his career. The rebounding numbers are still terrific. And last night he had 17 shots, but he was 1 for 5 from 3 also. And he didn't shoot above 50% last night. So, it's kind of hard to say, well, yeah, he was 8 of 17, which is about what Brunson was. Brunson was 8 of 19. So it's a little bit worse, but, so you're going to say, okay, well, that definitely means we should have shifted shots to this one or that one. And, I think that the results are skewing our opinions on that. But, just interesting dichotomy there. And just one of the, Sherwin's, again, with this length thing, we beat the Pistons and the Celtics in the playoffs just last year. So, and we actually have a better record against the top teams this year than we did last year. And so, those are also some of the best teams in the league overall that you listed are probably 6 of the top 8 teams. So if you have more losses against those teams than other teams, that's kind of to be expected. I'm sorry, Sharon, I don't buy into the narrative that we can't beat teams with length, because when push comes to shove, we've done it.
Yeah. And, Boston has really good two-way wings. Cleveland has, length in the front court. I know that's not what Sherwin is talking about. And listen, it is what it is. I think people, you got to hold on to your point. You got to try to prove, prove your point. I get it. Still appreciate you, Sherwin. Mike T424, Cat should be the number one option. When they run the offense through Cat, the ball moves more and the offense is more fluid. Again, my watching the Knicks this season, the Knicks offense is more fluid against teams that don't offer a lot of resistance, and their offense is less fluid. I'm not saying they don't win. I'm not saying they don't score, but it's less fluid against teams who are good defensively overall or are really good defensively that particular game.
And I think the offensive rating in the last month or so kind of paints that picture. If you want to tell the truth, like as our defensive rating has climbed, our offensive rating has plummeted. I mean, we were at one point best offensive rating in the league, and now we're down to what, 12th or so. So I think that those numbers kind of match what you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. All right, hold on. Okay. Um, Charles Turner. Yeah, Charles Turner the third. I don't disagree. Everyone is over analyzing last night. Also, no team has gone 82-0. Yeah, I agree with you as well. Like I said in the intro, the Knicks are still a very good team. They just weren't good last night versus the Lakers. That's it. Shot 23.5% from three, 43% overall. You're going to lose, you know, even with the good defense. Even with the good defense. There's only but so much defense you can play to make up for that poor efficiency. I do want to, before we get out of here, we've been kind of intermingling the chat's comments throughout. So we might just do a little more chat before we get out of the chat before we get out of here. But I do want to show this. Just the offense and defense and the record of the Knicks over the last 3 to 15 games. So the 15 games, offensive rating 14, defensive rating 3. Last 10 games, offensive rating 14, defensive rating 4. Last 5 games, offensive rating 13, defensive rating 4. Last 3 games, offensive rating 12, defensive rating 2. And what the record has been in that time. Which is fine. I think what I'm gonna keep looking at over the course of the season is, I love where the Knicks are defensively. 2 to 4. And listen, this is a messy stat, right? Because who were the opponents over the last 3 to 15 games, right? That's gonna make a difference in your defensive rating and offensive rating. But I love where the Knicks are defensively. I need the Knicks to generate. I need the Knicks offense to be a little better. And maybe this is just, how it's looked. Could just be a matter of Brunson being in a slump. And once he comes out of that slump, the offense will be a little better, particularly since he's moving the ball more, not dominating the ball. If he's more efficient in his shots, that will help the offense a lot. Geoff, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I think that the last 5 games is interesting though, because we really have played, some of the best teams in the league over that stretch. I mean, you talked about the Thunder, the Spurs, the Lakers, the Nuggets. That's to still be fourth in defensive rating over the
Yes.
last 5 with that, and that is very encouraging, because that means that even against the better players, better teams, we can keep that defensive effort up, and it's not just when we're playing the Wizards and the Nets and the whoever else is struggling this year.
I agree with you. I think the Knicks defense is here to stay. Let me know in the chat, replay gang. Let me know if you think I'm overly too concerned about the offense. let me know if you think I'm too concerned about the offense. I think the defense is here to stay. I think last night against the Lakers was a one-off, but it's a indication of my fears, my PTSD in the playoffs, where you play really good defense and you can't generate enough points because the other team is also playing really good defense. Like, so that's my PTSD. That's my, I'm happy the defense is getting better, but please, you got to be able to score the ball. Having really good defense is just alone, it's just not going to be enough. I don't care how good your defense is. You're not, if you can't score the ball, you're not winning, right? The Knicks can score the ball, but I just think maybe they're still trying to find their balance with their newfound defense. That's my hope. All right. We have a super chat. What is our backup when our threes are not falling? I mean, yeah, that's a great point. And when we're not winning the second chance point battle, which we didn't win last night, But we were plus 14, I think, on points in the paint last night, or something like that. Listen, if you're not hitting your threes, you got to find other ways to score. If you're not getting second chance points, which the Knicks love to do, you got to find another way to score. And the Knicks just weren't able to do that last night.
And turnovers were killer. Like that was a lot. I think that cost us probably 5 to 10 possessions. That even if you're shooting poorly, 30%, let's just say, if you get 10 extra possessions, that could be 6 to 9 extra points. That's that doesn't win us a 13-point game, but it's not as bad as what I would say. 18 turnovers or something like that. So
21 and gave up 21 points off of those turnovers.
So that's a huge factor in the games. And the Knicks are usually very good about protecting the ball. So that's kind of one of my reasons why I kind of think this is a one-off as opposed to panic mode. But at the same time, I agree with Queen that I don't think number 12 offense is good enough to win a championship. Like, I think we have to get into the top 10, probably closer to 6 or 7 offensively if we're going to truly be championship contenders. The defensive number is there right now. The offensive number needs to rise, in my opinion, if we're going to compete for the championship.
So I'm not on this island by myself, Geoff.
We there together.
I appreciate you, my friend. Len to Len 686. The Knicks are consistently inconsistent, and because of that, I can't take them seriously. They are inconsistent, though. But so in terms of not taking them seriously, so does that mean you just turn a blind eye to what they're doing defensively, or a blind eye to the talent? I mean, they are maddeningly inconsistent. But I to me, I'm encouraged by this team. I'm encouraged. I'm encouraged by the defense, and I'm encouraged that the offense will find their way. And I'm encouraged by what I'm seeing from Cat of late on both ends of the ball. And I just believe that Brunson's shooting will come around. But I hear you, Len to Len. I hear you. I ain't mad at you. I hear you.
I don't think we're wildly inconsistent, though. Like, if you look at
wildly
the season,
is too much.
I think we're mildly inconsistent.
Mildly.
And this is why I say that. Really, if you look at the season as a whole, we had the one bad 2-9 stretch in January where everything was falling apart. But other than, I think we're like 16-6 or something like that in our last 22 games. And the stretch before that was really good too. So outside of that one stretch of bad basketball, I think we have been pretty consistent with how we've played and what we've done and our ability to beat good teams. And so I think we're in those in that metric. I think we're much better than we were as far as consistency last year. I guess we were consistent last year in that we got boat raced by all the best teams, but I actually think that this team is more, in some ways, is more consistent than last year's was, especially on the defensive side of the ball, as those numbers have really shown. And even the offensive numbers, if you look at it, the ratings seem to be this locked in at this point. It's like 14, 14, 13, 12, 3, 4, 4, 2, right? So to me, that is consistency when you're able, like, I think if it was inconsistent, we would see like one over the past 10 games, maybe 14-2, and then but over 5 games, it would be 7-6, or you know what I mean? There would be massive and wild fluctuations, but I don't think that's what we're seeing with this team. There are some clunkers, but look, that's the NBA. It's the 82-game season. Like, there are head-scratching results all the time. So you just said, I think the Detroit Pistons lost to the Brooklyn Nets the other night, right? Stuff happens in the NBA, and sometimes it's unexpected. But I think that this has been other than that one stretch in the middle of the season at the start from January 1st, probably through the end of the month, I think we were inconsistent, but other than that, I think that this team has been pretty consistent.
Okay. Jamrock, always appreciate the super chat. Thank you for rocking with us. Don't want to be like how Boston were in the playoffs. This meaning that what they were the better ranked team and lost in the series. Is that what you mean? You know, help me. Help me understand that. All right. It's real 2178. Also, we'll never win if our point guard is taking the most shots and plays minimal defense. Well, his defense is not minimal if you've been watching the game of late. And he's the best player. And I think the best player should take the most shots. And if Cat takes more shots than him in a game or so, I'm not mad because Cat is our second best player. But who do you want taking? If it's not like you say in point guard, is this a position thing? Like the most shots should come from another position? Is that what you're trying to say? What if the point guard is your best player? Does that change the equation? Help me, help me understand. Help me understand that. All right, player of the game. Geoff told me before the show there was no player of the game. Period. For me,
I am gonna go with Towns though. Like if you had, there's the right answer. If you're gonna go with somebody, you had to say
right.
Karl Anthony Towns, and Queen is right again.
If you have to pick somebody from last night's game, based on his efficiency and how he dominated the defensive boards for us, I would say Karl Anthony Towns last night. And of late, I've been really, really encouraged by how he's playing on both ends of the floor. And, hopefully, as time goes on, he'll get more shots. I love the way the Knicks are moving him around in the post. I see some mid-range shots, taking some threes, driving to the bat. And he seems to be really good at figuring out where he needs to be. Like some games, there's not a lot of drive. Some games there are. Some games he doesn't shoot the three at all. Some games he does. I think his process is becoming better. Also, any quick thoughts on Towns overall before we get out of here?
100% agree. In fact, he's been our best player for a month now, in my opinion. His shooting percentages are climbing. He didn't have a great night from three yesterday, but welcome to the club. Nobody did. Sometimes you're picking from it wasn't a great night for anybody, but Towns continues to shine and show up. And to me, it's the things he's done on the defensive end. I think he's transformed himself into a good defensive player this year, which is not something I would have said about him last year. And so credit to him for working hard on that aspect of his game. And I think 100% he was our best player yesterday.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's just get to just a few of the comments because we've been kind of displaying them throughout the show. Wiz BKLA, welcome to the best, most inconsistent team in the NBA. I almost flew back to Los Angeles from seeing my mom and siblings here in Miami just for the Lakers Clippers back to back. Mo or Shamet should start. If you want to start Shamet, fine. I'm not starting a rookie. Listen, Mo Diawara, I love what I'm seeing from him. He's only going to get better. He has a high ceiling. I think he was a steal for the Knicks where they drafted him. But let's not get beside ourselves, right? Like if you want to start him and play him the same 15, 16 minutes, I'm all for that. But with rookies, there are going to be mistakes. The more you extend their minutes to 30, like starters minutes, the more you're going to see those mistakes game to game. Let him stay where he is, come along slowly. Don't put him in positions where you're counting on him in the starting unit. I don't understand. Like this fan base is so up and down on Josh Hart. Like the Josh Hart is the only reason that starting unit is not playing well. How about Brunson being in a slump? How about how we didn't feature Cat maybe we could have got more meat out of the bone, off the bone offensively to kind of help those plus minus numbers. I'm not saying it's not hard, but I'm just saying the dynamic is a little different than it was last season in that starting unit. I think there's more than one person you can point to this season, in my opinion. Geoff, do you think it's only, and even if it's not just Hart, I agree, putting Shamit in or putting Deuce in could help us get off to better starts. I'm not denying that.
Yeah, the slow starts are frustrating for sure, and especially when it seems like we just plug in the bench players and it, and we go on a run and we fix it. But I think long term, I don't think that's a good recipe in the playoffs. I know we had a couple of 20-point comebacks against Boston last year, but we have to find a way to get off to better starts. But again, the Knicks are winning 70% of their games when Josh Hart starts. 70, and it's not a small sample size. He has a ton of starts this year, and we're a very average team when he doesn't start or when he doesn't play. And so, to me, that and again, it's a conundrum as far as plus minus for units and this or that. I don't have all the answers to that, and I think it may be a little bit strange, but and I think that some of it has to do with how teams are able to guard us when Hart is in the lineup. Because you can, when he's not, then the more that we have a center guarding Towns, the better our offense is, because he can take advantage of that matchup, I think, more easily with how he likes to play, as opposed to taking advantage of a smaller player, because he likes to do his thing from the outside with dribble moves, as opposed to being more traditional back to the basket kind of a player. Although, to his credit, he was incredible from the mid-range in yesterday. I don't know, and maybe it's Bridges, maybe it's I don't know. It's very interesting that the team seems to have these struggles, and at the beginning of quarters too. It's not just the start of the game; it's often the start of the third quarter as well. So it's something that they need to look at and figure out if they want to reach their ceiling, for sure.
Listen, if I'm a coach and the lineup data says this lineup is better, but my winning percentage says this lineup is better, I'm going with the winning percentage. 70% winning percentage when Josh Hart starts. Do you know what the winning percentage is when he doesn't, or when he's not available?
I think we're like
30%
or something. I mean, it's still good because we're a 60,
right,
65% winning percentage team.
That's
or something.
True. It's not like we're losing every game. He does.
But it's still, right. It's like we're about 500 team when he doesn't, I think.
Right. So lineup data versus winning, winning percentage. Jabroni Z2686 starting Hart over Shamit doesn't prioritize defense. Shamit is a better defender, so what's the point in still starting Josh? Energy. Shamit brings that as well. If you think the only thing Josh Hart brings is energy, and I'm not talking just to you, Jabroni, I'm just talking about to the fan base overall, I'm not sure what you're watching. It's not just energy. Matter of fact, I feel like Josh Hart is not bringing enough energy. I think maybe 3-4 games ago, he was diving on the floor. I forgot which team he was playing. I'm like, whoa, that's the Josh Hart I remember. What Josh Hart brings is secondary ball handling as well, right? So it's not just he can bring the ball up. Bridges can bring the ball up. Brunson can bring the ball up. That's part of his role. He also brings secondary playmaking. Like 7 assists, 8 assists, 9 assists, 10 assists, 5 assist games, right? Because he is driving, drawing, kicking, right? And helping us in that regard. Shamit is a really good ball mover. He's a really good spacer. He's a really good 3-point shooter. I don't consider him a secondary playmaker.
And the one thing that you didn't mention, Queen, that may be the most important thing, is Josh Hart's rebounding.
Correct.
In other words, but you've got you've got what
OG Anunoby,
Mikal and
right?
OG are not good, consistent rebounders. So if you're going to throw Shamet, who's not a great rebounder, into that mix too, maybe that has something to do with the equation, right? And because rebounding is an important part of defense too. And when you just have Towns doing it, I think it makes it more difficult on him. And Towns is a fantastic rebounder, but when you have two outstanding rebounders on the floor, I think that helps.
Correct. Towns can't be the only one out there tracking down rebounds, right? I don't know if I've played in games like this and I've coached games like this where we could not corral a defensive rebound. And so the offensive possession for the other team just kept going on and on and on and on because we could not get a defensive rebound to stop that possession, right? So you're right. I think that's a big part of it, and that might even be the main part of it. Maybe if OG Anunoby was an average to above average rebounder, maybe you can start Shamit or Deuce. Maybe if Bridges was an average or above average rebounder for his position, maybe you can start Shamit. But those guys are not good rebounders. You're going to leave Towns out there by himself because the lineup data says something else, right? Who said it? Was it Riley? Rebounds win championships, Pat Riley or something like that. You have to be able to rebound the ball. So Josh Hart brings more than just energy. So I want to bring this up because this is important for me in terms of the community we're trying to build here. Sherwin, good morning. I wonder if you guys have basketball eyes. I'm going to stop right there. Sherwin, David Smith, who was a bit out of hand today, and so he's no longer in the chat, and anybody else. We do our best to include the chat in what we're trying to do, right? That's part of the rebranding. That's part of our shift. Be respectful in your comments. If you cannot be respectful in your comments, we won't show your comment and you won't be a part of the show for that day. Okay? If you have something you want to say, just say it. You don't have to insult us to say what you have to say, right? That goes for Sherwin, and that's a warning for everybody else. Say what you got to say. You don't have to insult us to do that. Okay? All right. Moving right along. I think we got to Anna Grow 1. Brunson did have a lot of foolish turnovers down the stretch. Absolutely. But I saw a few uncalled fouls. He made it personal with the refs again. Really? Okay. All right.
I like that
All right.
perspective. That was an interesting take.
Yeah. It definitely was. Keith Turner took a lot of bad shots as well. I was like, what the hell shot selection was that? Yeah. But you know what? When you're playing a good defensive team or a team that's good that night, sometimes you can't get into your spots and you can't get the shots that you would usually take. So they're a little rushed, they're a little forced. Okay. I think we did the Josh Hart thing today. Okay, let me see. Am I missing? Yes, Anna Girl, I'm with you. One game and we just collectively shit on the team. The seesaw is nauseating. Yeah. It was a bad game. I think the Knicks will be okay. All right. Let me see. Mike T424. It could be T424, but I like T424.
Yeah, me too. It's very Star Wars.
Cat should have got the ball down the stretch of the game. Yes. And he felt Brunson was going rogue down the stretch. Okay. D. Grant, you guys are looking at the winning percentage against. No, this is the winning percentage against everybody we've played. It's not just a 70% winning percentage against the weaker teams. 70% winning percentage against everybody that we've played. Is that correct, Geoff?
Yeah, yeah.
It's the entire
It's the whole
season.
schedule. I mean, and it's I think it's I don't think it's well we're 1-12 against the very best teams and we're 20-0 against the bad teams. I don't think that's an accurate statistical depiction either. In fact, as I said before, we're actually better against the over 500 teams than we were, or the top 8 teams, whatever you want to call it, than we were a season ago. And so, if you want to blame all of those losses on Josh Hart, I think that's a little bit disingenuous. But I mean, I'd have to look at it closer. But I don't know what our record is with Josh Hart playing in those specific games, but I'm not sure that you do either.
Correct. If a big is guarding Josh Hart and he's not hitting shots, doesn't that clog up the lane and have the big just roaming the paint? If they're a wing guarding Cat, how do we take? Well, two things. That this is a great point. Everybody want to focus on the fact that the center is guarding Hart, clogging the lane. What are we doing with Cat, who has the wing on him? What are we doing? Are we spamming that mismatch so that they have to come out of it, or are we just focusing on the Josh Hart part of the equation?
That's a
right.
Great point. Yeah,
because if we're going to Hart, to Cat, and Cat is scoring, they have to come out of it. That's number one. Number two, it's not just Josh Hart. If you've noticed, we have lineups. The two we'll have a lineup where we'll have Hart. Who else? Another Brickster in there.
Robinson.
We'll have Hart, Robinson, and somebody, and somebody else.
Sohan.
Sohan doesn't play a lot of minutes, but my point is the Knicks are going to have to learn how to play with having a non-shooter in the game. Period.
And other teams do it. It's not like this Mission Impossible. Oh, there's one, but like you just have to figure it out. And by the way, Josh Hart's shooting from 3 has actually been pretty good this year.
Thank you.
I think he's about the same percentage as Towns, if I'm not mistaken. I'd have to look it up, but his 3-point percentage has been a lot better this year.
It's above league average, if I'm not. It's definitely might be his best 3-point shooting season, and it is definitely at or above league average. Okay? But my point is, Detroit doesn't have all shooters.
Detroit has very few shooters, in fact.
Detroit has very few shooters, and they're winning. So this idea that you can't win if you have a non-shooter in the lineup is overblown, because every team in the NBA is not playing 5 out. Every team in the NBA, most teams in the NBA has 1 and sometimes even 2 non-shooters in their starting 5, and they figured out a way to win basketball games. And that's what the Knicks is going to have to do. So you're telling me these other teams can do it and win, but the Knicks have to do it with all 5 players. Now, if you want to say for our particular team, we're better playing 5 out, I would say that when we've tried that, our defense wasn't good enough. When we tried to play all 5 out, our defense just wasn't good enough. So Towns is playing better now. Brunson is playing better now. Maybe putting Shamet in from Hart, the offense will be a bit better, but you still have the rebounding issue. Because OG and Bridges don't rebound the ball well. So I don't know if there's a. You're right. You put Josh in, you give up the spacing, but you get the rebounds. You put Shamet in, you get the. No, did I say that right? You give up spacing, but you get rebounds. You put Shamet in, you get spacing, but you give up rebounds. I don't know if there's any perfect way. I just think Mike Brown has to, and I think he has been throughout the course of a game, different lineups that's giving you different different things. Okay. Size 9 by 20 to the Lakers. Like you not happy. Not happy.
Don't have to be happy. Look, you should never be happy with a loss. That doesn't mean they're not going to happen. This team's going to probably finish the season with 32 or 33 of them. So, but there's nothing wrong with being upset about each of those, but still a good season so far.
Yes. All right. Josh clogs the paint. Okay. But so does Mitch. So does other people. Even when Diawara, well, they're kind of respecting Diawara now. They're respecting Diawara because his 3-point shooting has been really good. Again, the Knicks are going to have to figure out, like other teams are, how to win with a non-shooter. And Josh Hart is shooting 38% from 3, or something to that effect. I still don't think he gets the respect, even though he is shooting that. I think they do play off of him.
Volume and willingness to shoot, right? I think
Yes.
are part of those. There'll be a lot of times where he's open and he passes up that shot and ends up taking a worse shot. And I think that sometimes is as much the issue with when he has shot the ball. He's been pretty good, but maybe it's those low volume that keeps his percentages up too. So
Yes.
chicken and egg kind of a thing.
Good point. Some of the inconsistency is with effort. It's not just about wins and losses. Okay. It's also about coming into the game prepared to play. The team's energy and effort are too often inconsistent. Okay. I hear you on that. Any last words, Jeff?
Oh, thanks to the chat. It was a really lively episode, boy. I mean, they were jumping today. I appreciate y'all. Thank you, Queen. This is a therapy session for me. I need them after games like this. So another one tonight, and it's not going to be easy. I know the Clippers may have a below 500 record, but they started the season like 15 or 16 games below and have been playing a lot better even after the James Harden trade. So, Darius Garland is there. This is not going to be an easy game tonight. And I want to see how the Knicks respond after low energy clunker of an effort, especially because this is our 5th game in 7 nights or something like that. So I'm curious to see how we look from an energy standpoint and second night of a back-to-back. And Jalen Brunson, I think, played the entire second half against the Lakers. So how does he come out? Does that affect his legs when he hasn't been shooting the ball well to begin with? Very curious about how we look tonight against the Clip joint.
Yeah, for sure. Shout out to the chat. Appreciate you. Replay gang, you already know. Silent listeners, appreciate you as well. Jeff, I believe, will be with me tomorrow, but definitely keep him in your prayers. This week, I won't get it. I won't get into it. But yeah, just keep him in your prayers this week, and he'll be back with us next week, right, Jeff?
Yes,
tomorrow,
absolutely.
and then next week, right?
Yes, yeah. Yes.
All right.
For sure.
All right. Appreciate you. Until next time, family.
Sister, you one of a kind.
Yes.
Oh, sister, it's time you
That's her.
shine. Dope Soul.
Where you at? Where you at?
Dope Soul.